Welcome to the next installment of the Train Vicar. In this installment, at the end, I'll talk favourably about a man declared a heretic by the church officially. But before I get to that, I want to talk about this place here, about Auckland, the biggest city in New Zealand. Now, as you can see, it's dominated by cars, and it has been dominated by cars, well, since the middle of the last century. Before then, it was quite the tram city, but, well, at that time, people thought that cars were the way to go, and, well, that's the result of planning and building for cars.
Trams were seen as outdated, slow, and, well, in the way of the modern motor car. The mood of the time is well conveyed in the following newsreel, a segment of the Pictorial parade from 1960. Well, it suggests that trams did cause congestion while motorways provide free-flowing traffic for all.
The city canyon climbing up from the sea was once all noise and congestion, but the passing of the trams has left clear streets where traffic flow can be regulated smoothly. From dawn to dusk on the city perimeter, carryalls thunder through the dust as a great metropolitan motorway system merges from dream to reality. To carry fast traffic into and through a city as big as Auckland's becoming, a vast and audacious motorway plan is necessary. First, the present northwest motorway is being widened and extended. Then, through the red volcanic rock at Penrose, the Great Southern Highway is being pushed on toward the city. Bypassing industrial areas, leaping across subways and bridges, it will carry traffic toward the heart of the metropolis. The Southern Motorway will sweep up over Broadway at Newmarket, go down under Mountain Road. A tunnel will take it beneath Simon Street, and it will come out in the great roundabout in Newton Gully. From here, one branch swings away to join the northwest route, and another curves towards the sea on a tremendous viaduct over Victoria Park, where the foundations are being drilled. Here, this branch will join the approaches to the harbour bridge. When this scheme is completed, traffic may travel at 50 miles an hour in any direction right across the city.
Today, Auckland is a heavily congested city. The noise and congestion caused by motor vehicles is far worse than anything that was ever experienced with Auckland's trams. Internationally, it has been shown that motorways induce traffic and tend to cause congestion. Auckland is a case in point. Private motor vehicles are one of the least efficient and most destructive modes of transport for metropolitan areas. Now, particularly in the early 1930s, there were already those warning against relying too heavily on private motor vehicles for mass transport. But from the late 1940s to the early 1970s, the mood for the modern motor vehicle was so strong that it swept away those concerns. Today, we live with the consequences of those decisions. And that's one of the points I want to make in this video, that actions and decisions do have consequences, not just for the individuals concerned, but for generations to come. Often it is subsequent generations that reap what has been sown long before.
The Auckland motorway system was never fully completed, so there were plans to put a motorway through here, through Hobson Bay, over to Glen Innes to East Auckland, but due to reasons of cost and the complications, that was never actually built. And in a sense, that was a godsend, because they realized that it would only add to congestion rather than relieve it. And so now the railway line to Glen Innes and East Auckland and Penrose is an important lifeline for Auckland. And in a sense, it shows a different way of doing transport here in Auckland as well. And as a result of that, it became a sign of hope for public transport in general.
Public transport patronage was at its lowest point in the early 1990s. Then from the 1990s onwards, services on Auckland's railway network were increased. In 2003, the new Britomart Transport Centre was opened, which brought trains back to the city centre in Auckland. Alongside better train services, buses and ferries were also improved and coordinated. In 2008, the Northern Busway was opened. All that has brought a slow transformation to Auckland. Soon an underground rail loop under the city centre will be opened, the City Rail Link.
So now I'm outside Mount Eden Prison, but more importantly I'm here beside the railway line, and today the trial timetable for the City Rail Link is used for the first time. It's just a trial, no passengers are allowed, but the trains are running today. So that's a major change and a major milestone in Auckland's transport.
Not everything has been plain sailing. In recent years, Auckland's rail system has been beset by problems. Preparation of the network for the City Rail Link has meant that often passengers had to suffer the painful experience of rail replacement buses. On the day of the new timetable trials, we caught one of those buses. It was full, slow, and very uncomfortable. To this day, Aucklanders are living with the transport decisions of the middle of the 20th century. Those decision makers and all those who designed, supervised and built those motorways and roads may have thought they are part of something new and progressive, but they made it hard for so many people after them and made Auckland a less livable city. Yes, some investment in roads was required, but not like this, and not to the detriment of more efficient transport modes. I think that in the church there have also been decisions that brought hardship and difficulty for many generations. One of those decisions was declaring the monk Jovinian a heretic in AD 393 and declaring that his writings were heretical. Now, just some background. In the 4th century, asceticism had become quite well regarded among the newly respectable Christian church. The monastic lifestyle had been introduced from the Eastern Mediterranean to the Western Mediterranean world during that time, and it was quite fashionable. The monastic life was not easy. It required considerable sacrifice and self-control. Celibacy and preferably virginity were requirements of monastic life, as was frequent fasting and avoiding of many other pleasures. With the increasing popularity of monasticism also came the idea of grades of holiness and salvation. In particular, there was the thought that people could do more than was strictly required by God, and through that receive great honor and favor with God. Well, into that world came Jovinian, himself a monk who was active in Rome. He warned against the various abuses that too much focus on monasticism could bring. He was clear that there were no different grades of Christians. Rather, he said that those who followed Christ were together the beloved children of God. They were either part of the people of God or they were not part of that people of God. And those who were more advanced in good works and holiness did not do so to achieve greater favor with God, but rather to display the riches of his grace. He also did not think that fasting achieved greater holiness. He said, there is no difference between abstaining from food and partaking of food with thanksgiving. Overall, Jovinian emphasized that we are not saved by our works, but by grace. Humans should not so much focus on their own achievements, he said, but rather live a life full of gratitude. But where he was most contrary to the spirit of his times was on the question of celibacy and virginity. He said that there was no difference before God between married people and celibate monks or nuns. He said that marriage was a God-given institution which was at least as valuable as celibacy. Now remember that Jovinian was himself a monk and remained celibate, but he did not think that through that he was better than other Christians. Jovinian also maintained that while Mary, the mother of Jesus, was a virgin at the conception of Jesus, she was no longer a virgin once she gave birth to a child. In addition, he also referred to the clear witness of the Bible that Jesus had brothers and sisters born of Mary. For Jovinian, this was not only a matter of truth, but also he wanted to refute an argument for celibacy. Of course, some of the more zealous monks were scandalized by Jovinian's writings. In particular, St. Jerome argued vehemently against him. His vitriol sometimes was over the top. Well, to one extent, it's understandable because Jovinian questioned the superiority of Jerome's lifestyle. And, well, also by common consent, St. Jerome is the most unlikable person ever called a saint by the Church. He was quite vindictive. Well, just St. Jerome and other influential monks achieved that Jovinian was declared a heretic. Jovinian lived some time longer, probably in exile, whether in peace or not, we do not know. Well, that decision to declare Jovinian and his message heretical, that had consequences for generations to come. It reinforced a reliance on human good works rather than God's grace. It allowed the notion of graded merit in the church, which then eventually led to the introduction of indulgences where the merits of the most holy saints were sold off to those poor sinners. It also, over time, facilitated the acquisition of wealth by monasteries. All that also led to the excesses of devotion to the Virgin Mary. Not only did this decision obscure the gospel and the truth, it also facilitated many of the abuses in the church. In a sense, after that decision, the Reformation of the 16th century became necessary. Who knows, maybe the Reformation would not have happened if Jovinian had been listened to. Maybe God, in his good judgment, allowed the church to fall into error to bring truth and light. I do not know. Still, I think that to this day, the decision to declare Jovinian a heretic has consequences. For example, only last year, the Catholic Church had to issue a document against the excesses in the veneration of Mary. And so humans often take decisions that make life hard for generations to come. It's hard work to bring truth, beauty, and goodness against such error, and it is only possible through the grace of God.